All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is, and we are live right here, right now, with the legendary. We got EDO.G live on the line. How are you doing this evening?
Peace. I'm great, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I have to ask, how's everything going out in Boston? I heard that that the United States is actually opening back up, so I want to say congratulations on that. It must be good to get back to normal.
Yeah, it feels great, man. To see things opening back up. People without masks. I mean, there's no mask requirement to go into stores or anything like that now. So, I think it's good. I'm not an anti-masker, anti-vaxxer, none of that shit. Excuse me, stuff. But just saying, it feels good to see people's faces.
But I know you're a very busy guy, Ed, so I'm going to dive right into this interview, but I want to take you back to the late 80s. And at the age of 15, you were actually in a crew called FTI, Fresh to Impress. And I was wondering, what's the story behind that phenomenal group? And of course, how did the song Susie Q come to be?
It was a title that I had in my head. And I was a beatboxer at the time. I actually wasn't really rapping that much. I had just started off. So they were a local crew in my neighborhood. I knew a few of them. My man P9, who eventually became one of the Bulldogs, founder members. They let me join the group, and we made the song Susie Q. And back then in the 80s, to make kind of a hit record, it was a local hit. You would talk about a girl. You look at, 80s hip-hop records, there's countless records starting with Roxanne, and it just kept continuing. Victoria, Just Dice, I mean, you can just, the list goes down the line about girls. So that was the thing to do back then, man. Make a record about a girl.
And especially as well, man, that was like the golden age era of hip hop as well. This was before the whole gangsta stuff came into effect. This was like the original golden age sound.
Yeah, I mean, well, back then, that record came out in '86 on a compilation album in Boston called Boston Goes Deaf. But, I mean, you did have gangster rap back then. You had Schoolie D, who was one of the original gangster rappers. You had Just Dice, as I just mentioned. He was called the hip-hop gangster. And this was early '80s. So you did have, rappers that were repping that gangster stuff, but it was just more variety. Through that whole era, you had gangster, you had conscious, you had funny, you had everything under the sun.
And also as well, in late 1989, you actually formed the legendary group EDO.G and the Bulldogs. I was always wondering, what's the story behind the formation of that phenomenal group? And of course, how did you guys initially land your deal with Mercury Records?
It was just a bunch of us. Like Key and DJ Cruz from the Bulldogs, they were part of the FPI crew. And we had just decided to form a new group, man, and a new big crew. And in Boston, everybody calls themselves Dogs. What's up, dog? How you doing, dog? So we took the Bulldog. It fit well from where we were from. And then we put the acronym behind it and made it mean something, which was the Black United Leaders, living directly on Cleveland Sounds. So that's what the Bulldogs had stood for. And the deal came through in 1990. My cousins are also too. They got me the deal. They lived out in Jersey, very close to New York, and they were on the radio since the early mid-'80s in New York City, and they were well connected in the industry. And they got me my record deal in 1990.
And I gotta say as well, back in the early '90s, like Mercury Records was pretty much like the place to be to actually be like actually like on a record label, man. So it must have been surreal to actually just work with such a huge label.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I didn't know too much about Mercury Records. Obviously, I've seen the label on vinyl. As a kid, you've seen the Mercury label on different records that your parents played or your family played. But I didn't know too much about the label and their roster until I actually many different levels to it, man. I came to understand. But yeah, Mercury was a good label. They were actually one of the first labels to put out hip hop with Curtis Blow. They signed Curtis Blow back in the day. So he was one of the first guys that made a major record deal, and it was Mercury.
And also as well, EDO.G and the Bulldogs' debut album, Life of a Kid in the Ghetto, turned 30 years old this year. I was actually wondering, what was the creative process behind that iconic record? And of course, how does it feel knowing that album is still making waves 30 years later?
Man, it feels great. We made it, we were kids, man. So, we were just having fun, making music, making the kind of music we liked, talking about what was going on in those particular times, 90 and, into 91 and, all the different racial tensions that we had and we still have today. Not too much has changed on that front. So, just kind of giving an introspective of a kid coming from the ghettos of Roxbury, Massachusetts, man, and telling our story to the world, man. So I think that it was an easy thing. We always wanted a record deal, obviously. So making it was easy, and where we made it at was the Key Power Play Studios in New York, was a legendary studio in Queens, right next to Queensbridge Projects. So I met my brother, hip hop brother, Craig G, one of the first guys I met in hip hop and became friends with. So it was, KRS and DDP had recorded there, EP&D, Sweet Tea, everybody you can think of recorded all those classic albums in that studio. So that was a big deal.
And also, as well, on that same record, you guys actually created a song titled Be a Father to Your Child. I have to ask you, what was the creative process behind that? And of course, what made you guys decide to create such a conscious song? Because I gotta say, that song most definitely helped a lot of individuals worldwide through some issues.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, growing up without a father, and most of my friends growing up without fathers, all being raised by single mothers, I wanted to, make a dent in that. And, at the time that I wrote the record, it was really cool to not be a father, for especially black men and Latino men, in the neighborhoods. Nobody wants to take care and be responsible. So I thought I had to make a song to make people be responsible. And I knew when I had kids, I was going to be, be there and do everything I can to make sure they could be the best they could be, and give them what I did. So I think that song really touched everybody all around the world. I mean, it's so uncool after that record came out to not take care of your kids. No one wants to be a deadbeat dad, So that's not a label that any man wants on them.
And I gotta say as well, I guarantee you that song is still actually inspiring people today.
Say that again?
Oh, my apologies. That I was just saying, I guarantee you that song is most definitely, with people that are scared if they're going to become a dad. If they hear that song, I guarantee you it's definitely going to scare them straight.
Oh, for sure, man. You just, if you make the baby, man, just be responsible. It's not the end of the world. It actually, it was a gift from God. It is motivation. It should motivate you to be better and not, have a burden.
And also, as well, going ahead in the timeline here, in 2004, you actually teamed up with Pete Rock to actually release the album My Own Worst Enemy. And I always wondered, like, what's the story behind that phenomenal album? And of course, how did yourself and Pete Rock get connected initially?
Through the industry, I knew Pete for a while, and always wanted to work with him. And the opportunity arose with Fat Beats Records to do the project. So I just reached out to him, told him, what I wanted to do, and then we got started on it, man. And it was, back then, it was a long process. We started working on that album in 2002, and it didn't come out till 2004. So, there was no internet like that back then. There was no sending me an MP3 through email. and recorded it mainly all in New York. He recorded everything. He recorded it out there. And, it was a great project. It just took long, much longer than I wanted. I wanted to bang it out in a few months, but it just took 2 years.
But I gotta say though, when that album did get released, I remember snagging myself a copy there on CD, and I gotta say, you guys had such phenomenal chemistry together on that record. The song "School 'Em" is still one of my anthems today.
It's a great record, man. Pete is super duper producer, and hopefully sometime in the future I could do a whole project with him again because he's super ill, man. And now it won't take that long.
Hopefully it doesn't as well, because especially with technology the way it is today, I wouldn't think it would take 2 years, but you never know, unfortunately.
No, I definitely would. That was a joke.
But also in 2009 as well, you actually teamed up with another phenomenal East Coast MC to create a hip hop duo where your first single was actually titled Little Young. I was wondering, how did yourself and Master Ace get connected? And of course, like, what's the story behind that super duo? Because I do remember, you guys had to change your name or something like that.
Yeah, we had to change the actual logo on the album cover because we used a television company called A&E. That's where we had kind of got the name from. So yeah, that was a little minor kind of thing. But me and Ace, we had been talking about doing a project together. A friend of mine named Serge Gainsborough, he came up with the idea. He wanted to produce the whole record for me and Ace. He had a budget to do it, and me and Ace decided to do it. And then halfway through that project, it kind of fell through. The budget went away, and we ended up we liked what we had. We had about 5 songs or something. We liked it, and we said, we should just continue. And then I had reached out to Traffic to distribute it, and Ace's label, M3, they were. We put it on his label, slash Traffic, and finished the project, man. It toured the world for a few years off of that. It was a great project with some, a lot of innovative stuff, man.
And also as well, going aside from the music side of things here for a moment, on October 30th, 2014, you were actually in a movie that actually got released titled A Sea of Green, alongside Be Real, Sticky Fingers of Onyx, and a bunch others. I have to ask you, what was it like taking part in that phenomenal movie? And what actually made you decide to venture into the acting side of the entertainment industry?
Well, my man, shout out to Mr. DL, who shot the movie, wrote and directed it. It's his movie. He's, one of my directors who I've used on countless videos. So, he's my boy. And he was shooting a movie, and he's like, yo, I want you to jump in. He was actually shooting another video, and he's like, I need to get you for this movie now. We're shooting this video. So it was like that. You know what I mean? So kind of real renegade on the spot, dope movie, a whole bunch of rappers are in that movie. Everybody who smokes weed that's a rapper is in that movie. So check it out. Stream it if you haven't seen it, people.
And I gotta say as well, you actually did a phenomenal role as well as Keith Rogers actually in that movie. If you don't mind me asking, like, do you actually plan on doing any more movies, or is that just something you did once and don't really want to do again?
Yeah, I just kind of did that, man. I'm more behind the scenes, man. I wrote and produced my documentary that came out in 2017 called "I Gotta Have It," which is you can stream that on Amazon now. So like I like doing more behind the scenes stuff, man. I think being more creative. I'm into that right now more than being in front of a camera.
And also as well, on May 28th, 2021, so just last month, you actually teamed up with fellow artist Insight Innovates to actually release your guys' self-titled album, EDO.G and Self Innovates. I was wondering, can you tell our listeners a bit more about this brand new release? And of course, where can we actually buy or stream ourselves a copy of this phenomenal record today?
Well, first you can get it on all major platforms. It's there. I just got my box of vinyl today. So, you can, and some CDs as well. So we got hard copies. We got blue vinyl, limited, and, the CDs, everything. So you can cop that anywhere. You can go to my Instagram page. The link is in my bio if you want to cop a physical copy of the product right there. So that's where you can find that at. And the project came about, man. Insight is another hip hop brother that I've known from Boston for, many, many years since we were younger. And, we've always talked about teaming up and doing some stuff. And me and him are more on the tech side. I mean, he's actually a developer. So he develops apps and, he's developed a bunch of different things as far as in the tech space goes, and also being a phenomenal MC, DJ, producer, blah, blah, blah. But my man is just very talented. So, Brick Records asked him to reach out, and, we're all family here up there in Boston. So we finally, the timing was right to do the project, man. I think it came out phenomenal. Another great work of hip hop, man.
And I do have to say, it is a phenomenal project. It's definitely a breath of fresh air, especially this past year and a half this entire world dealt with, man. It's always good to listen to some real hip hop. Just take your mind off all the BS worldwide.
Exactly, and I think it's one of those records that gets better the more you listen to it. There's only 10 songs on there, so you can put it on and, just keep it on repeat. Let it run it back again, man. It's just one of those projects that's easy listening to. It's summertime, it's good weather, and it feels good. It's a real feel-good project, man.
But I gotta ask you, Ed, because I do know we only touched base on a sliver of your legendary career this evening, but is there anything I happen to miss during this interview? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote while we still have you here live on the Canadian airwaves?
Yeah, man. Well, we got the EDO.G and Insight Innovates album out now. Make sure you guys cop that. And my Instagram is EDO.G Pics, P-I-C-S. And obviously, I have a new album coming out this year. New solo album. I haven't released one in 3 years or 4 years now since 2017. Freedom was the last album. If you guys don't have that, cop that. You can stream that on all platforms. And you can stream the documentary on Amazon and a bunch of other platforms as well. I got EDO.G and the Bulldogs new album coming out this year for our 30th anniversary, 91 to 21. That record is done. We just got to mix and master it. And that'll be accompanied by 2 documentaries that we're doing. EDO.G and the Bulldogs in Japan. When we were in Japan in 95, so the documentary is kind of based around that whole tour and show and everything that happened. So it's real funny. It's something different. People it'll be another breath of fresh air. And then my boy Black from the Bulldogs, he's on the original cover. He has a yellow jacket on. He went to prison for 20 years. So we're going to talk about that. And he went to prison right when the record came out. So, we're telling his story along with that. And plus countless other projects. I got a project coming out of the UK with my boy DJ Yoda and Baloo, producer out of the UK. We got a project coming out over there on Lewis Records later on this year. So, and other projects coming. Doing a bunch of stuff in VR as well. We go to hiphopvr.com. We've been doing a lot of shows in virtual reality since the pandemic. We started basically at the top of this year. We've been doing pop jams with all the DJs, Red Alert, DJ Evo D, Revolution, you name it. We've had rambling, but sorry, my Canadian people. I got a lot of stuff going on. So I got my own radio show on JTAT Radio. That is the legendary Jam Master J. It's an app called JTAT Radio. You guys download that. It's strictly 80s and 90s music from 79 to 99. That's all they play. Commercial free. So if you need to ever get your hip hop fix, download that app, or you can go to jtatradio.com and just stream it from your computer. And my show comes on every Wednesday, 3 to 4 p.m. East Coast time. And I play classics and new classics. Mainly a lot of new classics from artists like myself. Everybody, today was my show earlier today. I played a bunch of new Sky Zoo stuff, new Ransom, so a bunch of new music, and then I throw some classics in there. So check that out, man, every Wednesday. That's about it, man, for now.
And I gotta say, it most definitely sounds like you have your 2021 is most definitely gonna be hella busy. But I gotta say, from a fan's perspective, I'm super excited to hear all these new projects. And I just want to say, Ed, quickly before we part ways, man, thank you for years of amazing music. Me personally, you have been one of my favorite MCs to ever grace hip hop. So thank you for making music that not only myself, but millions of fans worldwide can not only relate to, but also help them through their difficult times.
I appreciate that, man. And just keep rocking out with me, yo. There's a lot more stuff coming.
Hey, most definitely. If you keep making it, I'm most definitely going to keep buying it. So, you already know, Ed. I got to say thank you so much for just giving us a little bit of your time this evening. And hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon.
Yes, for sure, man. Salute to y'all. Peace to everybody in CA. Y'all take care. Get through this vaccine quickly so I can get back up there and y'all can get back down here.
Most definitely. I already got mine, so hopefully everybody else can get theirs so we can actually see the one and only EDO.G live in full effect. Thank you so much, Ed. Have yourself a wonderful night.
You too. Peace, bro.